Yo, what's going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters? It's Jay Phoenix coming at you again with another video. And I know I missed the moon in Capricorn, the moon in Aquarius, and the moon in Pisces, but we're back for the moon in Aries. Don't have a song for you guys for this video. We'll get back to those. Admittedly, over this last week or so, my motivation in general for things has been rather kind of minimal. I think I've just been tired, like everyone, you know, and I think we all are at the end of our rope in some way or aspects, right? We have all this energy at the end of Pisces. The moon just passed over this spot, and I noticed today when I came into work, everyone seems to be in a pretty good mood. I'm also seeing people that I hadn't seen in a while. Everyone seems to be uplifted, a little bit more cheerful. It sounds like people had a good holiday, so I'm very happy about that. Hopefully you guys had a wonderful holiday if you celebrate. If not, I just hope that you are taking time to have gratitude and appreciate family, fellowship, and break bread with them, because that's what this time is all about. This moon in Aries is nice. It's trining the sun right now. It's giving us some much needed positivity, some much needed kind of like just kind of up the ante a little bit, give us a little bit more energy, put a little more pep in our step. You got to remember, the last three signs of the zodiac is the winter time. So Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. I'm not really surprised if you have been feeling tired, if you feel like you haven't been getting enough sleep, if you've been feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, you've been bogged down, maybe even mentally kind of just trying to figure out what the next step is. You're not alone. We're all here. I got another week left in the semester. I have a couple of big assignments that I got to finish. One that I'm not even halfway through, and it's due next Monday. And another one that I have most of it done already, fortunately. And admittedly for me, just being straight up, these past few weeks, man, my motivation, especially for school, has been, I don't know, it's been low. It's been low. But, you know, we all have these moments where we have to just kind of push through. And this moon in Aries is going to help us to push through. It's giving us a nice, like I said, jolts of energy to kind of get us going before we hit that full moon in Gemini. So, like I said, this last week or so, while the moon's been in these last three signs, you gotta remember, moon going into Capricorn doesn't really like to be there. Emotionally can get bogged down from the weight of the world on its shoulders. We're all a little bit more focused on career, long-term goals, longevity in a sense, our responsibilities, and depending upon the way that we approach them and our attitude, we can get kind of weighed down and bogged down by all that. It can be motivating if, you know, that we feel good from actually accomplishing something and moving forward and overcoming obstacles, but at the same time, it can definitely be a bit of a weight. When the moon goes into Aquarius, yes, Aquarius wants to connect and wants to help people, but if Aquarius could help the world from the comfort of their own home and from, like, they're essentially, sorry, I thought someone was gonna walk in. If they can help people from the comfort of their own home or through a computer screen or something like that, Aquarius would do that. They would do everything remote if they could, right? Aquarius is here to teach humanity a different vibration, a unique vibration, and to kind of reconnect us back to the stars, reconnect us back to our cosmic heritage. But if they could do that remotely, they most certainly would. I think that's something that we forget with Aquarius energy. So sometimes it's easier to kind of just pull back a little bit. It's a little bit more emotionally distant. And then you have the moon in Pisces. This is when we get so washed up because all of this energy that's in Pisces, you have the North Node here, we have Saturn that's now gone direct, and we have Neptune here at the final degree of the zodiac. So already there's a lot of pressure on all of this Piscean energy. So it's going to force everyone more inward, to be more, you know, be a little bit more reclusive, to be a little bit more introspective. And depending upon the way that you approach these areas, if you're not used to having that conversation with yourself on a deeper spiritual level, you're prone to try to escape via whatever your escape is. And we all have our escapes. We all have our things that we need to go into to kind of reset. I think that the resetting energy is important. You know, like I said, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac right before you hit Aries, where we do hit the reset button. So I think it's good to kind of take those moments to kind of reset, refocus. But depending upon what you kind of escape to, you know, can actually prove to be a little bit more of a detriment than something that's positive. So, like I said, this last week or so, while the moon has been in these signs, people have been a little bit more inward looking, a little bit more reclusive. But it's interesting how this all happened around the time of Thanksgiving. So ultimately, I think this is teaching us still that gratitude is important. Being thankful is important. Breaking bread with people is important. And we may all have our differences. We may all see the world differently, but we can still celebrate the fact that we are all in this human experience together, and we're doing the best that we can. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. Hopefully you didn't allow a lot of the external outside world stuff to inflict your ability to be able to connect with other people and connect with your family. But with this moon in Aries, like I said, it's positive, it's trining the sun. The dispositor of this moon, Mars, is in Sagittarius. It's in another fire sign, and Mars is heading towards Capricorn, so it's getting ready to really climb that mountain, so yes, a lot of our actions can be tied with our beliefs, and of course Mercury retrograde in this spot, so we're rethinking a lot of things anyways. But this is a time to hey, if you have some type of goal, if you have something that you're working towards, this is going to be the necessary energy that you're going to need to kind of push through. Because like I said, now we're going to start having planets come forward. We're going to start having them turn back online, and the energy is going to start to pick up here again, bit by bit. You're going to feel it. It's going to start to pick up more and more and more. So, but we are still in a review period for a lot of these planets. Like I said, retrogrades are about review. So, utilize this time. Like I said, Saturn's going forward, so karma has kind of turned back on. So your actions do matter, and they are important. It doesn't matter how big or small they are, especially if it's just you're taking small actionable steps towards something. Those things will build up and crescendo into whatever it is that you're trying to achieve too. So just wanted to come on here and pop on real fast just to make this little video for this moon in Aries. Like I said, I think it can be very, very positive. Yes, Chiron is here, but we all got our issues and our skeletons in our closets and our traumas and our pains and stuff. But it's about taking those things and turning it into a superpower. That's my whole thing with Chiron, is how can you take that and turn it into a teaching moment? How can you take that and turn it into a PowerPoint? Remember, Chiron was this great warrior and then sacrificed his immortality, but became a teacher. And and that's really what these things are supposed to be about. It's meant to teach you something. It's meant to, it's meant to provide you some wisdom on how to overcome obstacles, how to overcome the scarring that we all go through. And with it being an Aries, yeah, we're taking things we could take things rather personal right now. I feel like a lot of people are taking things personal. Even if they see something that has nothing to do with them, they will internalize it and then start to sympathize with those same feelings and emotions and stuff. And even that whole thing with sympathy, empathy, I'm starting to question it a little bit, only because you hear these words a lot of times in the spiritual community, especially empathy. Everyone's like, I'm an empath, but emotions are something they come from within you. They come out, they emote outwards. So I don't know if empathy is really the right word. I think it's more sympathy or sympath, where you can kind of have a similar feeling, if you will. I know similar is not the root word of sympathy, but sometimes even just, you gotta understand that words have vibrations and sounds have vibrations. So the whole sympathy, similar, even though they're not necessarily related per se, there is something to be said about when we create the vibration here, sympathy, similar. I think that's really the word that we're looking for. Maybe a lot of us are actually sympaths, and we're taking on people's energies that we have no business taking on, and then that can in turn affect our mental, emotional, spiritual, physical well-being. Just kind of throwing that in there because it just kind of came up and stuff. But if anything, like I said, use this moon in Aries to put a nice little positive pep in your step. Of course, there will be challenges. Of course, there'll be obstacles that come. That's just what life is. But utilize this energy to the best of your ability, and I will see you all next time. Later.